Appreciate everybody joining today. Today is going to be a bit different of a webinar than I normally run here. This is something that we just send to only existing customers and partners of SoCast, just because really after actioning some account management initiatives over the last 6 months, Shay and I on the team have been hearing a lot of our partners mention that they didn't know that we had a specific feature built into SoCast that they had available to them at the time when throwing around ideas or talking about what your digital goals look like for the next 6 months. So wanted to talk just a little bit about what's under the hood at SoCast. What do you have available to you today? How can we maximize the revenue and the potential of the platform that you have, without having to go out and buy new tools or secure new vendors or try to bolt on new integrations, and just go through a few of the tools that are available to all of our partners in SoCast to talk about how a lot of our other partners are leveraging those tools, how to utilize them in accordance with best practices to drive more engagement, more revenue, and really just get more value out of what you guys have from SoCast. So we're going to do a quick introduction, going through some contesting, talk about the premium player, local listings, real-time messaging, and the omni-channel report. But before I dive into that, just wanted to talk a little bit about some trends that have been coming through in the radio space, especially when it comes to digital, and some key identifying metrics that I thought were really relevant for our partners as far as telling the story. So as far when we look at connected devices, we've seen from a research group in the UK that year over year, listening through connected device radio tools like apps and smart speakers and streaming grew 46% pretty much year over year, showing that digital platforms are really driving a lot more listeners to radio, albeit indirectly, not through the traditional channel, but we're getting more listeners through these various channels. And as we connect to these channels, we make sure that we kind of capture that ear share that has fragmented away from broadcast. Understanding that social connections really drive loyalty. Nielsen went out and found that between 54 to 62% of social users engage with radio content online, and that typically stations that are very active socially see around a 30% higher listener interaction during their broadcasts. And that's both across traditional and social. So it is impacting through a multitude of channels. In 2023, Odyssey ran a study noting that over 65% of people in audiences combined broadcast with digital, and that the cross-platform listener was nearly twice as likely to make a purchase based on audio ads when they're getting them from both and multiple sides. And actually, Pierre Bouvard gave an amazing talk back in April at NAB, which highlighted how much more listenership there is in combining traditional radio with radio listeners and social users. And lastly, we've seen that over 30% of local advertisers now buy digital from radio. Digital represents over $2 billion of radio revenue across North America, which is over 20%. So it's really a very meaningful number. So talking about the tools itself that are inside SoCast and in the toolbox that are there for you to leverage, the first and foremost thing that I want to talk about was contesting. A lot of our partners did not realize how robust the SoCast contesting engine is, and the number of things that you can leverage it for, not only for obviously running those contests, but then taking the data that you collect from them. We found that over 40% of the visitors that come to our station sites across 2,600 radio brands go specifically to enter contests and promotions, which makes it the number one top driver of traffic, more than streams, more than DJ blogs, more than news, more than anything, more than obituaries. People are coming to sign up. People love to win stuff. You guys do contests so incredibly well. And that's why we've really spent a lot of time focusing on the SoCast contesting engine. We have found that about 30% of weekly radio listeners enter a contest at least once a month. If those listeners are likely included in rating surveys or like your P1s kind of thing, that jumps to 40 and even up to 50% almost amongst very heavy listeners. So, a lot of our partners that, don't leverage the contesting tool are really doing themselves a disservice because, with such a simple process, spending, maybe 10 minutes to create a contest on the SoCast platform, you can really supercharge active website visits on a month-to-month basis. Gamifying obviously drives loyalty, and one of the things that SoCast is working on is building in a point system. So as people listen, as people subscribe to contests, they get more points, and that itself can gamify the system. But again, running contests regularly keeps people coming back, keeps users engaged longer, boosts repeated engagement, and by taking the data that you get from every contest you run, That's how you're going to, start unlocking and accumulating that key first-party user data, which is instrumental in defining listener demos and giving that info to the sales team. Allows them to leverage that and drive sales. And I took a quick little snapshot here of the SoCast backend. So whenever you're creating an entry form for a contest, you have the ability, to ask your listeners their name, their age, their zip code, phone numbers, all the things that you would need to register for a contest. But then you have the ability to put in a custom question, and this is where you're going to start collecting that all meaningful information. Hey, when was the last time you bought a car? A year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. If you've got a local mechanic that does a lot of business with you on air and you want to get them buying in digital, maybe run a poll about when was the last time you got an oil change. It's been 3 months, 6 months, probably over a year. Taking that information, giving it to the sales team and telling them to go hit every mechanic in town is going to unlock additional digital opportunities for them to sell. Going and seeing if anybody, now we're coming into summer, people are looking to do lawn care. When was the last time you renovated your yard? And collecting that information will allow your team to go take that info, go pitch every lawn care maintenance company in town, and then see if one of them is willing to put up some money for a mega contest, and then sponsor the website, sponsor your mobile app. You can get splash posts on your players. There are so many different ways that you can take them and highlight this opportunity and get a ton of eyeballs and a ton of engagement, not only for the contest itself, but for your end advertiser. The premium player is the second tool I wanted to talk about. There are a few schools of thought on how people like to use players, whether it's embedded in the site so that users can stay on it and continue to consume content, or whether it's better to have an external player because that gives users more freedom. They can keep listening to your music even if they kind of navigate away from the main page and go about their day and do other things on the net. This kind of gives you the best of both worlds. This premium player allows users to obviously pop out a player, listen to the music, but allows you to monetize this, put content and embed news articles, social media channels into here. You can promote, you can sponsor the entire player and skin it for a specific advertiser like I showed in the previous slide. So this player will allow you to keep your users engaged, keep those tuning minutes going up, but allow you to do more with those listeners. And even if they navigate off of your main site, this still allows you to have a portal with which to continue pushing content to them, continue triggering ad impressions, and really keep them engaged despite the fact that they might have gone off your website. Local listings. So the local listings tool are one of the coolest things that we've built here at SoCast, because really, especially after COVID, we saw that a lot of our broadcasters, had to cut bodies internally, and creating automated digital processes was one of the most important things that they were looking for from SoCast and from their digital partners. And so we uncovered a way to allow our partners to not only have an amazing user-generated content section, whether it's for classifieds, whether it's for local listings, whether it's for obituaries, whether it's for your community calendar. We've created tools that will allow your listeners to come in and actually create these posts and then just have your team approve or reject them and have them approve on the site, appear on the site. So stripping 90% of the time out. I know a lot of our broadcasters, especially in small and medium markets, are spending half an hour on the phone every day sometimes with local funeral homes to get all these obituaries, sitting there and hacking them down one at a time. This portal now allows them to log into the back end, submit all of their obituaries, and again, allows your team to come in and simply approve or reject them. These are premium monetization spots on our platform. Whether it's classifieds, whether it's obituaries, there are businesses in your local community that want to be featured there because second to contests, obits and classifieds are the second most heavily populated spaces on a lot of our partner pages. And just to click into that's not going to work there. I'm happy to send a few examples, but it's extremely easy to see in a few links that I'm happy to send everybody that's attending the webinar at the end, what these tools look like, how they operate, and how easy it is to monetize them. Here, I've actually got a few screenshots that I built in, but you can see users can come in and place an ad in the classifieds. Each category is sponsorable and very highly sellable. And then even with obituaries as well, users can come in, they can either search for obituaries or they can post their own listings. And again, you've got a few local funeral homes here that are sponsoring. You're able to include your banner ads and your sponsorships just like with any other page. So again, very highly monetizable section of the SoCast platform that we are seeing more and more of our partners get a ton of value out of. Not only from the monetization standpoint, but also from driving additional users back to the site and stealing more and more eyeballs away from maybe local newspapers, for example. Letting your listeners be heard like never before. So this is probably one of my favorite tools that SoCast has built. Radio used to be a very one-way conversation. People would have a box sitting on the living room table. They would turn it on, or they'd be in the car, and you could pitch your message all day long. What SoCast has realized is that in moving into the digital age, our listeners want to be part of that conversation, and so providing them tools where they can log in, whether it's on the website, whether it's on the mobile app, to be able to come in and actually submit a message in real time to a local DJ or local talent or somebody who's on air right now. Whether it's a message, whether it's a photo, whether it's a video, whether it's a voice recording, to submit that and be able to have a live communication in real time with that individual. You can also take that information, you can take those posts, you can plug them into the social profiles that we've created in the activity stream on your websites and actually have that content show up on one of your pages. A lot of our listeners that we've heard as far as feedback from our broadcasters really like to kind of see those ongoing conversations, because it shows that it's not just some voice-tracked DJ from halfway across the country that's playing the show, but it's actually a real person that's sitting there and playing their favorite music and plugged into the local community that they are able to have that real-time conversation with. This is also a fantastic way, going back to contesting, for example, if you're running audio or video or image contests, this is a phenomenal tool that you can use to allow your users to submit that media to you, get it in the back end of SoCast, triage or curate it, and then publish what you want onto the website when you're, whether you're looking for a contest to run or you're simply looking to create some additional free content on the website for a local baseball game that's happening. Get people to get your local community submit their best photos and create a gallery on the site. It's easier than ever before to leverage your community to create content for you, and this is one of the coolest tools to do it on. The last tool that I wanted to talk about very quickly is the omni-channel engagement report here. So understanding that every single element of of your digital strategy appears in this back end here as far as being connected to SoCast, you can extraordinarily easily understand where success is coming from, identify it, and then recreate it. Looking through your web engagement, your app engagement, tune-ins on your player and minutes spent there, blog connections, social engagement, contest registrations. This tool, this omni-channel report, gives you an up-to-the-minute view across your stations of what's working really well and what's not. Being able to understand, if a blog all of a sudden has 300% increased visibility over, the other blogs that you're traditionally posting, that would be something that you would want to turn around and share with the entire team immediately, because clearly this is something that is highly engaging for your local community right now, and you should likely double down on creating content of a similar variety very soon. Because it'll likely get consumed. Conversely, if you've got something that's at a minus 90%, obviously this is not a topic that's really resonating with your local listeners, and we should likely shy away from it. The main takeaway here, though, is that understanding what's happening in every one of the channels that you're connecting in will really go a long way in helping you shape your overall digital strategy moving forward. Because once you understand where success is happening and where the shortfalls are, having a partner like SoCast to come in and share some industry best practices goes a very long way. And, really, I encourage you guys to look at this information, book a 15-minute or a 30-minute call with the sales team just to have a conversation of, this is what we think we're doing really well. This is what we think we can do better. How can we do that? And, that's one of the main reasons, that you guys are all here today and we've partnered with SoCast, because, the insights that we have into the radio industry across 2,600 broadcast partners, we feel are invaluable, and we love nothing more than sharing that with our partners to help you guys succeed and meet and overachieve the digital targets that you guys have kind of set for this year and every year moving forward. So I know this was a bit of a short one. Hopefully this was just like a good refresher as to some of the tools that you have in your tool belt that you may not be leveraging to their full capacity. But if you want to have more conversations about how to leverage these tools better, if you have ideas for a sales campaign that you want to run, you're not sure how to do it, please reach out. If you don't have access to some of these tools and you feel like they would be very beneficial in enacting and enabling your digital strategy, please reach out. We'll be more than happy to set you guys up. And again, if you have any questions about anything that you've seen today, please give me a call. Please send me an email. I'm more than happy to review all of this with any of you. Thank you all for your time.